So, this is happening. I guess that's really the only thing I can actually say about it, is that this is a thing that's happening right now. There's a Cabin Fever remake coming out. I mean, I honestly, when I first kind of read this article, I kind of thought it was honestly a joke. Because this thing literally just got announced out of nowhere. I mean, first of all, not also did they just announce they had a cast and that they were going to start shooting next week and everything, but they also announced like this clause that just really seems too bizarre to kind of actually film a movie on, especially if you have the original maker of the movie involved as a producer. It seems like a very weird clause to make a movie on, especially a remake. So I was kind of concerned myself. I was like, okay, this is a joke article. This article has got to be a joke. There's no way this could happen. I mean, there's no real way that someone who was involved in the original movie would go forward with a remake like this. No frickin' way. Apparently I was wrong. This is real. This is an actual thing that is happening right now. And from what I can get from a lot of people, everybody is saying the exact same thing. Why? I mean, why is this going forth? Why is this getting made? And why is this even getting made with the clauses that it has in there? Because the clause of this movie is that they have to make it with the original script. Which is a very, very weird clause already. I mean, one, you want to try to make a different movie for like a new generation of audiences, but you still want to use the original script? I mean, that just feels really constrictive to like this new director who's on board. It just boggles my mind. It really does just boggle my mind. Like, I composed myself and really thought I'd have like a lot of point-by-point stuff to go by, but the more I'm just thinking about it, just right now, it's just like, nothing really makes too much sense about this. I mean, for one thing, even though I'm not a big fan of Cabin Fever, as probably anyone could tell by like a review, which I did a review for Cabin Fever, and surprise, surprise, I wasn't really a big fan of that movie. If you want, you can go see that review just to see what I have to say about that. But I'm not really sure a remake is like, one, even I feel, as someone who doesn't like the first movie, even I feel like a remake is kind of pointless. I mean, for one, the movie only came out like about what? 14 years ago? That's not really too long ago. I mean, it's still a relatively fresh kind of movie. It's not really, especially it's not really even a period-centric movie. Like, it's not so diluted in 2002 pop culture that it's so, that when watching it becomes completely outdated. I mean, it's relatively date-free. I mean, that's the one thing I can say about the movie. It's a relatively date-free movie. It's not really setting itself in one certain part of time, but it's like, I don't really get that part of like updating it. That's the thing I don't get. It's still relatively a fresh movie. Again, 14 years is not a long time to warrant a remake, but then again, you know, I look to Spider-Man and Batman coming out, I'm like, okay, yeah, now this is the new Hollywood. Where apparently something can come out relatively not too long ago, and then it just gets rebooted just because, well, for the sake of it, when nothing works. I mean, you want to talk about it too, we've seen a lot of foreign horror movies go through that, and those remakes are even quicker, like only about a 2 to 1 year gap between those movies before they get remade into an English thing. I mean, Let the Right One In came out about 2008, and the remake came out like, 2 years later after that? I mean, that's kind of insane if you really think about it. So, I guess this follows that kind of trend too, and from what I can take it, the sequels were not working for this thing. Yeah, Cabin Fever actually had sequels. Apparently, they were trying to go, like, I think there's 4 sequels now. I'm not sure if the 4th one's actually out, but I think they announced that there was 4. or maybe there was like 4 planned and now they just dropped it down and now there's only just 3. But whatever. There's about like 4 to 3 Cabin Fever movies, and I guess that didn't work. So now the only way to do it, and again, the only way to make money off of this thing as a franchise and a brand, which really, certain studios need to understand, and certain companies kind of need to understand that not everything is always a franchise or kind of a brand. Like even something like Cabin Fever did not really feel like a franchisable kind of idea, you know? I mean, there's certain movies where I can agree could spin off into franchises and sequels and prequels and all that cool crap, but not really this one. I felt it was pretty much like just considered to one movie and that was it. But no, apparently they decided sequels were the idea, and in order to keep this franchise fresh, we have to reboot it. Though my main criticism in this whole thing, and the only reason I'm talking about this is because, well, one, I did a review for Cabin Fever, and I know one of the questions I'm probably going to get is, are you going to do the remake? Of course. Of course I'm going to be talking about the remake. Not when it probably comes out. Here's the thing. Probably not when it's going to be coming out. Like when it comes out on theaters or wherever the hell it's going to release. I'm probably not going to talk about it then. Probably when it comes out on like video or something or streaming or wherever the hell it's going to be released, I will talk about it. I will do a review for it, like an actual Dan's Video Then episode for it, and I'll do something. Though, considering the nature of this is going to be made from, or the circumstances of how it's going to be made, it almost kind of feels a little pointless, considering that one of the clauses is that they have to use the original script. And that even Eli Roth himself is kind of announcing it as a restaging. Which is just, that's the thing that I think a lot of people are really confused by. Is that he is going with the idea of a, more or less, scene-by-scene remake. Which to me makes absolutely no sense. That's the thing that I think a lot of people are kind of really just in awe of just, it doesn't make any sense. If you're gonna do a remake, why do the same exact movie? You know, why do the same exact thing with all the same dialogue and all the same characters? I mean, wouldn't you want to do something new with it? Wouldn't you want to do something fresh with it? Don't you think that kind of constricts the director and everyone else on the movie to do exactly what you did? I mean, because really, you are limiting their creativity. I mean, you're just basically handing them a script and saying, okay, here's what you got to do. And again, I don't know how much of what was actually planned, because I have to think that maybe that's taken out of context, like maybe they're working from the ideas of the original script and making their own. But from the way it sounds right now, at the time of this announcement that it hit, it is a straight-up scene-for-scene kind of remake with a different visual director. Which, again, that just seems pointless. I mean, it really does seem pointless. There's nothing really different about it. I mean, all you're just really doing is putting new actors into the thing and, I guess, making it more modern or something? I really don't know how you can make this even modern. Are they going to have cell phones now, or what? And not also to mention, too, I always thought the idea of a remake was to improve upon something that didn't work in the original. You know, like how John Carpenter's The Thing was a remake, and it improved vastly on something that was inferior in the original. Like, granted, I love the blood-sucking carrot monster, but by going back to the original source material, they had a more interesting alien creature. You know, going into The Fly, they made a bit more of a dramatic film with Cronenberg, when Cronenberg did his remake. Or even, just other films that have actually done certain things. I mean, even the Dawn of the Dead remake changed a couple of things that I actually didn't mind as far as that movie. I mean, I'm not really going to say it outdoes the original because, well, the original Dawn of the Dead is my favorite movie, but I even think it had its own thing. Like, the thing about those movies is they had the idea, which was zombies in a mall, alien in the Arctic, and guy slowly turning into a fly monster, and did their own thing with it. They didn't just try to look at the original movie and go, okay, let's do exactly what they did, scene for scene, No, because a lot of people, when they come onto a new movie, they want to do something new. They want to do something new and interesting, something that they want to make it feel unique. I mean, look at the Ghostbusters reboot that got announced, which, yeah, Ghostbusters got announced for a reboot. And when he kind of came out with it, he said there was going to be an all-female cast and stuff, which does sound different. I don't know how that concept's going to work necessarily, if they're going to just make it the original characters as females, or if they're going to come up with their own characters. Personally, I'd rather they come up with their own characters, because I really don't want to see Bill Murray with a vagina. Sorry, no thanks, don't want to see that, but I do think there's actually a way that remakes can work. I mean, even the Ghostbusters reboot. I'm personally not in favor of reboots. I'd rather the original just stay as it is and speak for itself, but if a director's coming in with something new, I at least appreciate that. I at least appreciate a director coming in and trying to have a new idea. Whether they do that successful, I don't know, because technically RoboCop was going to be saying that it was coming in with new stuff, and while there was new, a lot of it was not very well executed, so there's always that pendulum of it. I mean, even the Evil Dead remake, which was a movie that was heavily inspired by the original Cabin Fever. I mean, let's admit it. That movie was heavily inspired by The Evil Dead. I mean, even Roth himself has admitted that it was a big inspiration for him. Even when that remake came about it, and Sam Raimi was attached to that one, or at least in the producing chair, he told the director, don't feel weighed down by what we did. Do your own thing. Make your own script, come up with your own characters, just do something new. Even when John Carpenter was asked about the whole remake with Rob Zombie for his Halloween, he said the same thing. Do your own thing. Don't feel like you have to be weighed down by the original. Do your own thing. And I feel like Roth has essentially set a new precedent where now he is saying that these new people who come on into this movie, who are big fans of the original or whatever that means, are going to be coming in to make this movie, and he's basically saying, you're going to make this cool new movie that's going to be the new Cabin Fever of 2015 or 16 or whatever the hell this thing's coming out. But you got to follow my ideas that I did. You have to use your own visuals and you have to shoot your own way, but you follow the exact same ideas I did and make the same exact characters that I did. I mean, really, that's constricting it. That really is constricting it. I mean, if you're proud of the movie that you made, you already made the goddamn movie. There's not really any other use to remake that if you're already proud of it. I mean, if you're just doing it, one, this is mostly for money. Because there's really no artistic reason this needs to be done. I mean, especially how he's bitched about horror movie remakes in the past. I just find this very hypocritical. I mean, I'm not a personal fan of Roth myself, but I don't hate the guy. I mean, I hate his work. I don't like his movies, but I don't personally hate him. But to kind of have him come in, not also on a horror remake to his own movie, but to also kind of restrict a writer to basically just kind of doing the same thing that he did, that's not really helping. I mean, maybe this guy wants to come in and do something completely different. Like, maybe he wants to take the concept of Cabin Fever, but do something a little less kind of what he did with it. Maybe not play up the dumb humor or the frat boy kind of stuff, or make characters that are kind of unlikable jackasses. Maybe this guy wants to come in and make a cool, low-budget, small, flesh-eating virus, kids in a cabin movie. But he can't, because he's now has to do pancakes, and he has to do those scenes with the store shop guy, and that stupid rifle scene. Oh, Jesus Christ. That stupid rifle scene. And we're going to have to go through Deputy Winston again, and all these other characters who, they're not really interesting characters, I'm sorry. If there was a big thing that was a weakness about Cabin Fever, it wasn't so much its visuals. It was the script. And you're giving the weakest part of that movie to the new team. I mean, it just astounds me. I mean, from what I remember this guy not liking the Gus Van Sant remake of Psycho, which was a scene-for-scene remake, and that was just unnecessary, because again, if you're just going to do the same thing over again, what's really the point? If you're not going to add anything new, or what you're adding new is so tiny and minuscule, it's like, oh, well, we're just changing the cast, and we're just doing a modern technique. It's not interesting. It's not. You're just doing the same shit that you did before. You're not improving it. You're not taking a look at what worked and what didn't work about it and deciding to take a new direction with it, as well as fixing some of those problems. You're not. You're just doing the same exact thing with a different crew of people. And it just seems like it's lazy. It's entirely lazy to me. It's a lazy cash grab. And I think even fans are kind of looking at this as a lazy cash grab. Now, I could be completely wrong, but honestly, with what is being shown here, I mean, this thing came out of nowhere. Has some of the most ridiculous ideas for how it needs to be made, and I just don't even know. I really don't know. I mean, I don't usually do videos for reactions on remake announcements or anything, but this just kind of struck me because this is almost kind of like the laziest form of a remake. And I guess it disappoints me more that someone who's actually behind the original, who actually made the original, is basically just kind of coming in and saying, like, yeah, you can kind of do your own thing, but you got to make sure you do what I did too. I mean, you can't do, I mean, you're free to do your own thing, kind of, but you have to do what I got to do. I mean, this definitely isn't going to be probably the worst reboot that's coming out. I mean, who knows? Maybe it will be okay, but if it's going to just be as a restaging as Roth is putting it, it's going to be the same movie with just a different cast. And I don't think horror fans, the people that Roth loves, really want to see that. They don't care about seeing that same movie with different people. They want to see new stuff. They want to see new stuff. If you like this guy, this new director, and you think he has a vision, give him something new. I mean, Sam Raimi looked at the guy who was doing the Evil Dead remake. I'm sorry, I forget his name right now. But he at least looked at him and said, you're going to do something new. You're going to bring something new to the table. You're going to do something interesting and new. And while I don't think it was the greatest remake ever made, I at least commended the Evil Dead remake for trying to be different, for not doing the same thing. Do I still think a remake of Evil Dead was necessary? No. But do I at least appreciate they were trying on that one? Yeah. They were trying to make something new. This one's not. It's restricting itself creatively to being the same thing you saw. It's not going to fix its problems that you had with it. It's not going to fix anything about the movie. It's not going to be a new vision. It's just going to be the same shit you saw. You're still going to get the ooh faced scenes. You're still going to get that stupid humor. You're still going to get these unlikable characters, and you're still just going to get the same crap that you didn't like about the first one. And I know I'm in the minority of this one, because I'm one of the few people who didn't like Cabin Fever. I think as far as most horror films, it's a little overrated, personally, considering that there are other films that do what Cabin Fever did exponentially better, but don't get as less coverage. So, those are just my thoughts on the Cabin Fever remake reaction, if you will. I personally don't understand what exactly this whole thing is still. I don't understand what the point of it is. But who knows, maybe it'll be good. Maybe all signs are kind of leaning towards this thing not really being too good, but who knows? I could be wrong. So, until next time, I am Dan from the Den, and who knows? Maybe in 2016 I'll actually have a good Cabin Fever movie to review, but again, highly doubt it. So, peace out, guys.